Hey gamers, Aksu here. I've played 0 hours of Crimson Desert. I'm with you guys. I've been eagerly watching previews, ratcheting up my hopes, and maybe worried a little bit about some of my fears as well. So far we know that there's a huge amount of game systems, that this game is almost being everything for everyone. And because of this, I don't think I've seen anything that feels comprehensive, and we do know that the potential greatness of this game will be in the details. Now most likely, you're in the exact same boat. Nonetheless, I'm really excited. In this video, I'm going to record some of my pre-game thoughts, so that later I can compare some of my first impressions against these once we've had some time to dive in. I'm hoping that Crimson Desert is both challenging and immersive. I'm hoping for interesting environments that feel deliberately crafted and intentional. So far we've heard that the world is really large, and that's okay, but it needs to be more than a statistic. The world should feel engaging, and the size of the world should feel necessary. Ideally, the experience and content design push the world boundaries to their final size, and not simply scaling a world generator to extra large and then needing to build content to fill it in. We know that some games have fallen prey to huge swaths of empty space that don't facilitate the experience. The space feels out of place, or just there. We could call it space filler. Or we've seen large spaces filled with trivialities, NPCs and mini-quests that don't feel very meaningful. They feel like decorations. I'll call this content filler. Of course, space in and of itself isn't a bad thing. When done right, space can actually make room for a journey and immerse you. The experience of the world size should be impressive for its gameplay value, not for the numerical dimensions or traversal time metrics. Because of this world size, we know that travel is going to be a really big part of this game. We can see here that it looks like there's 29 mounts. This will probably be a number of different kinds of horse, and then we know about a bear and a dragon. I love games where flying is integrated to facilitate the intended adventure, rather than being leaned on as a pure convenience, or worse, a method to actively bypass the adventure. As an example, I think Ornithopters in Dune Awakening did this pretty well. In that game, flying delivers a lot of freedom, but it's a necessary progression unlock, not a god mode shortcut. The simple fact is, flying will make the world feel smaller, relatively speaking. Many games have addressed this challenge with the compromise of limited gliding.
Here, take these wings.
I see that in Crimson Desert we'll eventually have access to both, flying and gliding, as well as a jetpack. I'm really interested to see how flying is going to be implemented and how it impacts the gameplay. With this large world size and all of these traversal tools, I really like the idea that character progression is tied to meaningful exploration in the game. I'm talking about seeking out those abyss artifacts and learning through observation and study. I believe these progression unlocks will be earned in combat, defeating powerful foes, unlocked through puzzles, as well as found in the environment while exploring the world. I'm hoping that these artifacts, as well as skill acquisition, are both well integrated into normal exploration, and not super Easter egg style search and finds. I'm hoping that both character and gear progression don't boil down to just mindlessly grinding fields of mobs for XP or some other kind of progression token. And in the same realm, I'll be interested to see how faction rewards are earned, or do you have to earn faction through grinding? For a game that's trying to do so many different things, it's kind of hard to know who the target market is. Honestly, I'm here more for the combat and personal adventure, and less for the tedium of learning about every random NPC's story. Speaking of combat, based on the previews I've seen so far, it looks like combat is going to be really interesting. Very energetic with fast-paced strategizing on how to avoid being overwhelmed when greatly outnumbered. I'm really looking forward to unlocking the different skill trees and seeing how these will express themselves in combat. Because there's no difficulty slider at the start of the game, it will be interesting to see where the base difficulty has been set, and then to see how the game makes room for both casual as well as more skilled gameplay. As just a C+ gamer myself, I'll probably need to watch others to really see how this unfolds. While I normally avoid both ranger and mage archetypes, preferring to fight toe-to-toe with the humble sword, think Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, I have to say that the way a variety of different attack methods can be strung together in Crimson Desert looks pretty exciting. Personally, I'm looking forward to stretching beyond my exclusive dance of swords, and instead delve more into the seemingly no-holds-barred brawling style. I do enjoy both parry and dodge mechanics. I'm glad to see that both will be important in this game. Overall, combat looks really aggressive, where hesitation could mean defeat. And for the top challenges in combat, I'm looking for some really creative boss fights. I see evidence of 76 of them, that's great. My C+ gamer experience in Souls-like games, such as Elden Ring and Sekiro, can add up to a lot of attempts on each boss. Please, no long runbacks, yes to skippable cutscenes. I hope I can get back into the next attempt on the boss very quickly. When it comes to skippable cutscenes, in some games, particular bosses can feel like they're immediately mid-pounce after the skip, while at the same time your character control can still feel locked from the cutscene skip. I can already see many of these fights look to have scripted intros and then they end with the boss mid-attack. When trying bosses over and over, I hope that we're able to skip the scripted intros as well as enter combat smoothly when exiting that skip. While I'm not holding my breath for this feature, I do really like it when games provide a method to replay bosses without a new playthrough. Think practice makes perfect. Sekiro did this, Elden Ring did not. Outside of boss fights, I hope that combat still feels narrative in some way, not just hoovering up mobs in an area and then AoE blasting them down, rinse, repeat, grind, grind, grind. You know, Black Desert to be like that. This is not what I'm looking for. I really love that we've learned that weapons and some other items will not sustain durability losses. Perhaps the itemization will feel more like Elden Ring. Fight to unlock weapons you desire, improve their stats, and then the ability to swap freely. I know that many people will miss deeper character customization, like character selection options, customized creation, armor transmogs. The lack of these options really isn't game-breaking for me, as there still are some areas to add personal expression. Another large component of Crimson Desert appears to be the Abyss, these floating islands of puzzles. In many games, puzzles can feel jarring. They can feel bolted on and not well integrated into the world. Stop what you're doing, it's puzzle time. Puzzles can often be so trivial that they don't have any memorable value, or they can be so obtuse that they add a lot of tedium and frustration. However, when they are clever, logical, and integrated in the world, puzzles can be really engaging. I think a lot of recent games simply add puzzles only for the sake of adding puzzles. Speaking of which, jumping puzzles have become standard fare as well. Parkour is normally not my thing, I'm definitely gravity challenged. However, even for me, well-designed and integrated traversal challenges make sense to me. However, timing jumps between floating platforms, waiting for elevators, scaling nonsensical towers of stuff, that stuff is less interesting to me. I'm pretty sure this game will have these, it seems that all games do at this point. Another critical area is game controls. Now, when picking up a new game, it's normal for new control schemes to take some time to convert into muscle memory. However, many previews for this game have already flagged awkward or difficult to learn controls, as well as button combos for combat. I'll be looking forward to robust keybind options that will allow me to develop a scheme that makes sense, where the controls can become fluid for me with practice. Similar to this is UI navigation. Many recent games, even great games, have some pretty awkward UI implementations. They oftentimes don't make for smooth or intuitive navigation. For those completionists out there, permanently missable content is always a fear. I'm certainly fine with narrative branches that support alternate endings. However, missing content because activities were completed in the wrong order with no real warning, that can be discouraging.
Do you know how to drive a wagon? Would you take the reins and get me to the trading post?
When you can miss content inadvertently, the fear of missing out can drive players to step-by-step guides and walkthroughs, which I think really does subvert the idea of immersive exploration. And then of course, that possibility of missing something can feel even worse when there are both achievement and completion trackers built into the game, and it really does look like we can expect something on these lines. The next topic is gaming hooks and monetization. As a standalone game, I think we're off to a good start. Online games hooking players with FOMO mechanics like daily login and limited time events, these are disguised as rewards. They actually boil down to manipulative retention mechanics. I'm hoping the Crimson Desert gameplay itself holds us with no need for artificial motivations. Related to this, while there's no cash shop at launch, it sounds like a possibility post-launch. We're going to have to monitor this closely. From recent gameplay experience, Where Winds Meet had really good boss fights, but for me, that kind of on-map or in-world checklist of activities kind of felt like an ocean that was 3 inches deep. So many pitch pots, archery competitions, bell games, and chasing butterflies. For me, these were like content slop. I am often skeptical of game systems used to round out gameplay. Social minigames are kind of meh. Trust and bounty systems, they could be interesting or they could be stumbling blocks. Life sims and cooking, generally pretty meh, because typically only a select few recipes actually get used. On the positive side, I generally do appreciate base building as long as there's persistence. In some games, structures will degrade if there's a lack of maintenance. I kind of think these mechanics are in the category of manipulative login hooks. For Crimson Desert, I can't yet tell how some of these aspects have been integrated, things like fist fights, arm wrestling, and other minigames. And also, as another side note, in Where Winds Meet there were endless menus to claim rewards, and I found that to be simply silly. Hopefully the exclamations found here won't be something similar. Overall, I'm really excited for Crimson Desert, surprisingly so. On the initial reveal, I wasn't too excited about more Black Desert grind. What I've seen so far really does feel like a breath of fresh air, as well as unencumbered by a number of different MMO monetization layers. Like many of you, I plan to dive in headfirst on launch day. Hopefully I'm going to have a hard time tearing myself away from the gameplay in order to take that time to publish my first impressions video, as well as more detailed reviews and guides as I make my way into Crimson Desert. Please do subscribe to the channel if you're interested to hear follow-ups.
It's time.
We're almost there, gamers. Launch day is just around the corner. I hope to see you then. Until next time.